President Buhari says he is unapologetic, a believer in the devolution of power, and laments the resistance of efforts at devolving power at the state levels. And Southeast leaders, alongside service chiefs and federal ministers, met today in Enugu on ways to stop the spate of killings in the region. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimbaloye in Lagos. Tomorrow is June the 12th, Nigeria's Democracy Day, a day to commemorate democracy and also remember the June 12th election, which was annulled by the then military junta of Ibrahim Babangida. Today, the National Democratic Coalition, NADECO, a very popular pro-democracy group, which helped fight for the nation's return to civilian rule from dictatorship, is speaking up on the state of the nation ahead of tomorrow's commemoration. They're asking for true federalism and calling on the federal government, led by the President Buhari, to keep to its campaign promises of restructuring the nation.
NADECO, on behalf of most Nigerians, is equally disturbed with the semi-total disregard of this administration to fulfill its electoral promises or manifesto that it will restore the country to federal constitutional governance if voted into office. It has been proven by deliberate action on inactions of President Buhari and his government that they made false promises that they did not intend to execute. The El-Rufai Committee's report, which itself could never have solved the national question, has been kept in the shelf for about 3 years now to prove that the undertaking was a ruse, a gimmick, to hoodwink the public, to imagine that the government was doing something.
For us to have a meaningful national security and national constitution, that constitution must have clauses that spells out a proper national security architecture that befits the country. Now, let me also go to the other point. We all cry for state police. State police, as the name suggests, should not be seen as Lagos State Government Police or Oyo State Government Police. It should be seen as Oyo citizens or people's police. This is the practice universal. First line of national security has to be anchored on unconventional citizens' army of local government-based self-defense forces.
Still in line with some of the conversations that you just heard now, President Muhammadu Buhari is insisting that it means well and good on the promise of restructuring Nigeria, as he says that he is an unapologetic believer in the devolution of power. The president said this after meeting with interfaith leaders, some of whom include former head of state. The president is, in a statement by his office, said, and I quote, "I remain an unapologetic believer in devolving power to the people, and that is why I signed the executive order granting autonomy to state legislature and judiciary. Unfortunately, this was met with some resistance at the state level and led to a more than 2-month strike action that has cost the country a lot of pain." End of quote. Well, as that meeting was going on with President Buhari in the nation's capital, Abuja, the governors of the Southeast region met in Enugu, the Enugu state capital. And some of those who met with them include the service chiefs and some federal ministers who were discussing how to end the insecurity situation in that region. Others that are present at that meeting include the former Senate President Ken Nnamani, former Deputy Senate President Ike Ekwere Madu, and other leaders from the Southeast were also at the meeting. After that meeting, this is what they agreed on.
It is important that we come out stoutly and openly to advise the leaders of this country to mind the way we speak, because we do not speak this country into crisis. This is very important. Those who dish out hate speeches from our region also, or threat of violence or threat of secession, do not speak for Southeast.
Well, the defense minister also spoke after that meeting. Take a listen to him.
We have agreed that there are fundamental issues that need to be addressed. I will just mention one or two for your consumption. One, the hardest conflict should be seen from the perspective of national interest and to be given the necessary accord that will stop this menace all over the country.
This is perhaps the most robust meeting in the Southeast region on the insecurity situation. We've seen governors of the region meeting on their own, trying to find solutions. They come up with Ebube Ago, but this is the first time we're seeing a more robust conversation and brainstorming on the way forward for the Igbo land. First and foremost, today we saw the service chiefs, we saw federal ministers, and we saw traditional rulers, and of course we saw some former leaders, political leaders in the region meeting, which means that there seems to be some agreement on way to go. But let's talk further on what this means for the Southeast region that has been confronted with a lot of insecurity situation, attacks on security formation, attack on INEC offices, attack on correctional services and all of that. I'm being joined by a former federal lawmaker and a former governorship candidate in the last governorship election in Enugu State, Senator Ayogu Eze. He joins us from our Abuja studio. Thank you so much, distinguished Senator, for joining us tonight on the program. Let me begin by asking you.
Thank you, Sean.
This kind of gathering that we saw today with the leaders of the region, the governors have been meeting on their own, but now we've seen the federal ministers and the service chiefs meeting. It does look like there is now a nexus between the regional leaders and the federal government. What is your view on what happened today?
Well, Sean, I'm very excited about the prospects of the meetings that has taken place today, because it means that truly our people have signed on to a national negotiation, because politics, democracy, and governance is about negotiation. People need to sit down and talk things over, think things through. I'm very happy about some of the conclusions that they've reached, that our people on all sides should give peace a chance. So I'm very, very happy that Southeast, that has been known as one of the most peaceful regions in the country, is beginning to get it right. Our leaders are coming together to think together on the way forward. I'm equally happy that there's an engagement with the federal government, because for the president to send his Minister of Defense, Minister of Interior, the service chiefs, it means that he is taking the issue of peace, security, and good governance in the Southeast very seriously. So the prospects are very good, and I'm very excited this evening.
Perhaps one thing that is very critical when we're talking about the issue of security, and people will say we need state policing to be able to effect the kind of effective policing that we need in some of these parts. And you saw the president say today that he has made moves in ensuring some kind of restructuring, some kind of power devolution, but it's being blocked at the state levels. invariably talking about the role of the governors in not allowing some kind of autonomy happen in the judiciary and in the local government strata of government. What's your take on that?
Yeah, my take, I go back to what I said earlier, that governance itself is about negotiation. And I will urge Mr. President not to be tired of engaging the governors, engaging the people at the different tiers of government. We need to keep discussing. We need to keep the fire burning, because the only way we can achieve what is desirable and good for this country is by talking the way we're talking. Because if we had been talking all this while, I'm sure that this matter would not have escalated. And I believe that this conversation should not be limited to the Southeast. They should engage all the regions of the country. What is happened today in the Southeast should happen in the Northwest, where we are being battled by bandits. It should happen in the Northeast, where Boko Haram had been harassing the nation. It should happen in the Middle Belt. It should also happen in the South, where we seem to have a relative peace, and also in the Southwest, where we also seeing separatist tendencies about people talking about Odua country and all that. This negotiation is very important. Put everything on the table. Let's talk about it. Let's agree together. Let us shun violence. Let us eschew any attitude that will create issues for our economy, that will create issues for the polity. Let's talk, let us talk, let us talk. That's what I am very happy about. And I believe that with patience, with perseverance, with consistency, we will definitely arrive at a solution that will give us a country that will be fair, will be equitable, and will be just to all concerned.
Because I would like you to know you are a leader in the Southeast region of the country, and you perhaps will have an idea of what exactly is at the bottom of what we're seeing. Because some of the leaders in the Southeast say, this is unlike the Southeast. This is un-Igbo. We do not, we are not violent in any way, but one would be wondering what exactly is the cause. Before I get into that, I'd like to know, because we're due for a break in the next 60 seconds, give us a sense of what is happening in the APC, because you heard the NADECO leaders say that President Muhammadu Buhari and the APC promised in the campaigns that they are going to restructure Nigeria, and perhaps that is not the kind of restructuring they are seeing presently. President will say, I've tried to devolve power, but they are being blocked at the state levels. There is a promise to restructure Nigeria. You are a chieftain of the APC. It does look like that campaign promise is not coming through.
No, on the contrary, what the president is saying is governance is work in progress, one incremental step at a time. The president has said, let's take the crucial issues. Let us revive governance at the local government level. Let us reclaim authority at that level by making sure that the resources that are meant for that level goes to that level, because they are the closest to the people. So if we can get development right at that level, it is a form of devolution of power to the third tier of governance. He has also said, let us make the judiciary autonomous so that we will be sure that people who are in the state and federal judiciary are not under the apron string, are not under the apron string of any leader, governor or president or minister or senator or whatever. The president is not averse to restructuring, but I think that there needs to be a continuous conversation so that we can understand ourselves. And the issue of repairing a system or governance system is not something that you can take in one fell swoop. It's incremental, one at a time. We get it right at the local government level. We get it right at the state judiciary. We get it right in the autonomy of the state assemblies. Then we go from there and strengthen all the institutions of democracy. It is possible that when we get all these institutions functioning as they ought to function, we may discover that all this clamor for change of constitution, all this clamor for secession, all this clamor for quitting the federation will die a natural death. Because all we need is good governance at all levels.
All right. Perhaps some Nigerians might think, oh, that's not what we are promised. But if that is the strategy you're explaining to us in which the president is going about the incremental restructuring, well, that's another language that has been brought into our democratic vocabulary. But we take a breather. When we come back, we look deeper into the problems, what exactly has happened in the Southeast region, and how do we get out of here? Don't go anywhere, everyone. We'll be right back. So many things happened today, everyone, and we're giving you updates and getting perspectives into it. President Buhari says those who are involved in some of these criminal activities in the last few weeks are going to be prosecuted now that our courts are resuming. He also said he's interested in restructuring this country. Well, whatever that means, he's talked about the autonomy to the judiciary, autonomy to local government. Don't also forget, our conversation is also centered around what the Southeast leaders met on today, alongside federal cabinet members and service chiefs. It gets us talking. Security situation in the country and the way forward. Senator Ayogu Eze, a former lawmaker and a former governorship candidate in the 2019 governorship election in Enugu State, is being our guest. And we're since being joined by a security consultant, Mr. Kabiru Adamu. He joins us from virtually from Abuja. Thank you so much, Mr. Adamu, for joining us tonight. Just a moment before I come to you, let me get this insight from Senator Ayogu Eze. And the big question will be, how did we get here? I've heard from so many leaders from the Southeast saying, this is on Igbo. We are not violent people. But things just started going bad and things started getting to a head. What is at the bottom of the spate of attacks and killings and the violence that we are seeing in the past months?
Sean, I am as perplexed as you are, and as perplexed as the next person. Because, like you rightly said, this is completely out of character with who we are. We are one of the most cosmopolitan people in Nigeria, as the president noted in his interview with Arise television. There's no corner of Nigeria that you go that you will not find an Igbo man or an Igbo woman settling in, some of them even in the cabinets of emirs and royal fathers in different parts of the country. So this kind of conduct is really strange. A lot of people have tried to attribute it to mismanagement. I don't know mismanagement or what. But whatever it is, like the leaders at Enugu have said, this is not us. This is not who we are. And we need to walk away from this level of violence. Yes, if you feel a sense of injustice, yes, you can talk about it, you can cry about it, but we don't have the license to indulge in self-immolation, to destroy things that are in our own backyard. This is not who the Igbos are. And we are one of the greatest believers in the Nigerian project by our conduct, by our way of cohabitation with people, by our outlook generally. We make friends easily. We are very dependable people. When you have an agreement with an Igbo man, that agreement is obeyed to the letter. So this is completely out of character with who we are. And that's why everybody is perplexed about what is happening in Igbo land today. But I'm happy that we are beginning to get a hand on it. We are beginning to talk. We are beginning to discuss amongst ourselves to say, no, let the royal fathers, let the governors, let the legislators, let the commissioners, let the local government council chairmen go back and talk to their people. These people live within and among us. These are people that are not from the moon. Even if they come from outside, people should know when there's infiltration and report about infiltration. So I think the vigilante system in our societies, especially in Igbo land, should be kicked, should be rejigged and made more functional so that we can detect when there's infiltration. Because sometimes I have heard allegations that people who do these things come from outside. But if they come from outside, the local people should be in a position to know and say who they are. Because this cannot continue because this is not who we are.
Let me bring in Mr. Kabiru Adam, who is a security consultant. Thank you so much, Mr. Adam. Sometimes the way you explain some of these issues just gives one a sense of understanding. Give us a sense of what exactly is happening. A lot of people might be glad in seeing what happened today in Enugu, where we are seeing governors, traditional leaders, cabinet members, service chiefs meeting in one room. It does look like a realization that this problem has gotten to their head. And for you, what is happening in the Southeast is significant because the attacks are specific. Institutions, correctional services, police formation, military formations. What's your take?
Thank you, Sheung. So I run a consultancy, and monthly we do an analysis of the incidences that occur across Nigeria. And then for the very first time in 2021, and frankly, for probably the last few years, the Southeast featured as the region that had the highest incidences across the country. In fact, 21% of the incidences we recorded occurred in the Southeast. Now, for us, what is happening in the Southeast is the crystallization of a couple of factors. Number one is the proliferation of small arms and light weapons that we're not speaking enough about. Number two is the grievance, especially socio-economic grievance, that appears to be higher in the Southeast region than other regions, especially the perception of marginalization and perhaps real marginalization. That, again, which brings us to the third factor, that we're seeing negative mobilization of that grievance by especially politicians. And that is why the meeting today is absolutely important, where a platform has been provided for these politicians to air their grievances. And the hope is that the federal government will take up these grievances, listen to them, the ones that can be explained, and the ones that need to be acted upon. The two most important grievances that came out from our survey are this idea of the Southeast not producing a president over the last few years, especially since the Fourth Republic started, 22 years into that. The second one is this idea of 5 states in the Southeast, and not when the other regions have about 7 or 6 states. And then, of course, there is also this grievance of infrastructure. Other regions have more infrastructure than the Southeast. Again, these are some of them marginalization, some of them are real marginalization, and only platforms like the one provided today and a lot of advocacy by both the federal and state government can address these grievances. The fourth point is the poverty and unemployment that is almost higher, of course, in some of the states in the Southeast region. But then if you go to the Northwest, you find states that are probably higher than the Southeast region. So all of these factors have crystallized into the development of pools that non-state actors are recruiting from. And with the proliferation of small arms and light weapons, drug addiction, it becomes very easy for these non-state actors, and unfortunately for politicians to use this pool to now perpetrate what we've seen. From January to May, we documented about 70 of such attacks occurring in both the Southeast and South. So I'm afraid to say I'm not a politician. It is not surprising that we're where we are. Again, I want to emphasize that the Southeast has emerged as the region with the highest security threat in Nigeria at the moment.
Because we're out of time, quickly, if you can tell us, because I'd like to get Senator Eze's final statement in just 30 seconds. If you can give us an understanding of what is critical for these leaders to look into, perhaps one thing that they may have lost sight of, or what they are not really looking into, what could that be?
Number one is to address this marginalization, whether perceived or real. And the federal government has started the process by engaging with especially the subnational leadership, the political and traditional, as well as religious leadership. Now, they too, on their own, need to take it down to the grassroots level. So provide town hall meetings, several platforms, especially through platforms that can reach the youth. Let's remember that it is the youth that are being mobilized negatively for this activity. So if the meeting stops at the level that it held today, nothing will be achieved. There must be a follow-up meeting by the several subnational leadership to take the message down. The second point is to address the issues of weapons proliferation, as well as the unemployment that is very heavy in the region. And then lastly, we must establish social order where all this, the weak criminal justice system is not arresting and punishing offenders.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kabiru Adamu, for your thought there. Let's close the show tonight by getting Senator Ayogu Eze's final thought. And perhaps if you can do this for us in 30 seconds because we need to go. For those who say maybe the Igbos need a chance at the presidency in 2023, do you think that's part of the idea here? 30 seconds, please.
Well, I believe that it might be in their basket, but presidency, we need to work with other stakeholders in the country. It is not something that the Igbo can do alone, and we are not looking for an Igbo president. We are looking for a Nigerian president of Igbo extraction. So I believe that the negotiations that have started today, the mobilization of the different levels of leadership today, will help us to create a platform where we can negotiate with other Nigerians on the need for them to see the justice of the Igbo case. That we've made a lot of sacrifice on behalf of our country, and we have a desire not to leave the country, but to provide our own idea of leadership within the country. So I believe that is something that's worth giving a shot.
Senator Ayogu is a chieftain of the APC and a former governorship candidate of the APC in the 2019 election. Thank you so much, Senator, for joining us tonight, and as well as Mr. Kabiru Adamu. Thank you for your time. But that's our show for today. Tomorrow is June 12th, Democracy Day. In whatever we do, we need to be democratic, and those tenets need to be followed squarely. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I'm Chion Kimale. Bye-bye.